So we'll start with what I think is the biggest news story of the week. No, not Call of Duty. For unlocked fans, listeners and watchers of this show, it's Halo 6. Not straight up confirmed or announced, but we all know it's coming. But what 343 did acknowledge, they finally acknowledged.
Yeah, they did.
At least the fact that, hey, the story wasn't so great or perfect in Halo 5, or at least an aspect of it.
Turns out people like Master Chief.
Master Chief,
Yeah.
yes. So we've swapped in through the power of magic and editing. Sean Finnegan, Halo super fan.
Hello, everyone.
Super player.
Thanks for having me.
We're all major
Except Marty,
Halo
he
fans
hates
in there.
Halo.
Yeah, he was.
That's why he disappeared.
He actually was fired. He's
For
no
hating
longer
Halo so much, yeah.
working
we kicked
here
him
as of this. But Frank O'Connor, the franchise development director, he spoke to Games TM magazine over in Europe, and this is a really interesting. I'm just going to read you the whole quote, and then maybe we'll stop and talk about it as we go. But it was interesting to hear him open up about this a little bit. He said, "We took some digs for storytelling in Halo 5, but they were absolutely merited. We very much realized that people wanted Master Chief's story of Halo 5.
Did we just get sub-quoted there? Like, is he talking about us?
He's talking about
Weren't
everybody.
the only-
It's not just us.
Classic IGN.
We definitely marketed in a way that we hoped was going to bring surprise." Okay, Frank, I'm going to call some BS on that one. No, you didn't. Surprise.
Surprise, it's nothing like the way we marketed it.
The marketing was awesome, and the story wasn't. But for some fans, and certainly fans of Master Chief, it was a huge disappointment because they wanted more Chief. Remember, Master Chief, if you recall, was
Blue team.
20%.
I think that's also just kind of playing it safe. There were plenty of other seemingly pacing problems in that game, aside from just the fact that Chief wasn't in it.
Of course, but we're just going with what 343 is owning up to here so far.
True.
So Frank continuing saying, they, meaning fans loved Blue Team. They liked Osiris, but they wanted Chief. The emphasis is mine there, by the way. But they wanted Chief. And that has been a big learning. Chief, we tend to think of as kind of a vessel for your adventure rather than necessarily this major character in the universe. He's really just your entry into the universe. But people have become attached to him over the last 15 years, and they've started to sort of fill in the gaps that the character deliberately has for gameplay reasons with a genuine emotional attachment. We certainly underestimated that with Halo 5, which that's interesting to me, guys, because Halo 4 was of all the mainline Halo games, Halo 4 was the most personal Master Chief story.
Yeah, him and Cortana.
They
That's the
343 made. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it. I stand by my review, and the reasons people tend not to like Halo 4 was more for multiplayer, I think, than anything else. But yeah, it's odd. That's sort of an odd statement considering.
Yeah, he's saying we're filling in the gaps, and yet Halo 4's narrative was all about that relationship. So it's like, no, you guys totally did that in 4.
But before that, I think he's right anyway. Like, for 1, 2, and 3, I've become super attached to Chief as a character, but if they were like, well, he isn't really much of a character in 1 and 2, I wouldn't argue with it, but I liked him so much because of what I turned him into. But then, of course, they have the books, they have the comics. There's a ton of expanded lore where I feel like I know who John is, like, to some extent.
I started to like Chief after I read the first book.
Yeah.
I mean, he nailed it with the vessel comment. Like, Master Chief is me when I play those games. He is this conduit for you to experience the story, and how you play him is the character. So, like, people grow very attached to that because it's them in the games. And I think when you move away from that, there's an opportunity to do something cool. Like, I would never blatantly, as a creative person, write off the ability to integrate a different character like Locke. It's just the way that he was implemented and the story that surrounded him. Like we mentioned, that the marketing kind of hinted at this great conspiracy that, and
this face-off.
This
bad scene.
Yeah, and like Oni, if you're familiar with the lore, is like the UNSC's like internal intelligence operative. So they're kind of
the FBI.
Or the CIA.
They're kind of these shady sort of behind the scenes characters who have great intelligence and great power and wield great influence. And here's one of their best and brightest going after a legend Chief. That sounds awesome. And then that turns out not really to be what happens in the game.
He's bad. I guess he's not.
It's not. It's kind of just the implementation of that, because we all saw the opportunity for it to be awesome, like we pointed out in the trailers, and also the whole Hunt the Truth podcast.
That was so
led up
good.
to it. All of that was so awesome, and then it just didn't. The setup was great. It just didn't get paid off.
And, Locke was written poorly.
There's also a bunch of weird stuff that happened with Locke. Like, he's the main character in Nightfall, which I'm going to be honest, guys.
It was
sorry,
terrible.
not good.
It's awful.
And then Mike Coulter bailed on that and then ended up not even voicing the main character so that he could be Luke Cage. Totally fine with that. I mean, you're going to be a Marvel superhero? Okay, go for it. But like, there was just a little bit of weirdness leading up to it, and it kind of showed in the game. And
I think that's probably because there were changes. Like, I think probably what was marketed might have been what they initially wanted, and then it just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I would love to. If there's ever a book that'll get written about Halo 5's development, because I feel like I agree. I feel like there's got to be something else there.
Yeah.
Totally
that went on.
Because like I compare it, I get the same from the marketing materials and this, again, the opportunity to do what they didn't end up doing in Halo 5. It's a lot like what other people did in Mass Effect, where like you come in as the new guy on the block, the first human Spectre, and you're tasked with hunting down Saren, the rogue, greatest Spectre that the galaxy's ever
Pretty
known.
good parallel.
Yeah, and like that is what they could have done with Locke. You're like, Locke is coming in, you're tasked with hunting down a legend, but you're also kind of this hotshot guy within Oni, but you have to go after the chief.
Kind of like the new Star Wars game where you play as the villain, basically.
Yeah, like imagine if you were
a new perspective.
Yeah, imagine if you were tasked with taking on this new perspective, and you as the player, as a fan, like you know the history of what Chief has done, so in your head he's a hero, but you're forced to kind of unravel the mystery and fight your own preconceptions about what has happened as Locke. That all leads up to this grand finale.
That's what they made it sound like it was going to be.
That's what they made it sound like it was going to be, and then it wasn't.
Well, or if they have you play from both perspectives, they obviously did that with Halo 2, and I love the Arbiter.
Totally.
Like, there were problems with that game in terms of narrative, but I love that story.
So I totally get what Frank's saying, and I get what the fans are saying, which is like, we want more Chief. I want more Chief too. But I would also say that like it's not just a Locke thing. Like there was an opportunity to do something cool with Locke, it just didn't get executed right.
There's great members on Team Osiris though. Nathan Fillion's awesome.
Totally. Buck, who was always a Spartan in our hearts, let's be real.
Well, and Blue Team, if you had read the books.
It's so great to see them all.
If you read the books, or
yeah.
at least the first couple of books, which is where Blue Team really is most heavily featured, which I had, it was like, cool, I'm going to hear more about Kelly, Linda, and Fred. And then the game disappoints you when you get nothing from them. And then if you haven't read the books and you play Halo 5, you're still disappointed because you're like, wait,
who are these people?
Who are these people? You've been telling me for 4 games that Chief's the last guy, the last Spartan 2. What? So it was just, the way it was handled was just so odd.
And that's kind of another thing. It's just like, if you were a fan of the series or the books and the lore going up to Halo 5, like you kind of had this high expectation for like, oh man, we're going to meet the team, like the Legends team.
Yes. Yeah.
Who are these people going to be? How
like the
awesome
Dream
are they
Team.
going to be? Yeah. And then none of that really. They're just generic Spartans, kind of.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's just a missed opportunity.
So, all right, more from Frank here. He continued. The effect that the character has, meaning Master Chief, on his surroundings and the, quote, fate of the galaxy has had a resonant effect on fans over the years. It wasn't that surprising to me, but the volume of give us more Chief at the end of Halo 5 was significant. And so I think, if anything, he's slightly more important now than he's ever been, certainly to our franchise. Instead of focusing on bringing new characters into the world and expanding the playable characters, we've sort of shifted the focus a little bit to making the world a little bit more realistic and compelling, and I would say more fun for players who get to inhabit the Chief in the future pretty much as they demanded.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. There's always a call and response element to shipping a game. You have to ship improvements, you have to ship tweaks, and you have to ship changes. And sometimes you have to walk some of those back.
I don't want them to be afraid to introduce new characters, though.
Yeah.
No, and I don't think that's necessarily what he's saying, but I think he's saying, okay, you'll be playing as Master Chief for the, if not bulk of the entire duration of Halo 6's campaign. So,
except Locke. I find most of the characters in Osiris interesting. I just really don't like Locke. As I make clear.
He finishes by saying, doubling down on Master Chief's story and the amount of focus on him was probably the easiest learning from Halo 5. That was a really simple thing to absorb and embrace. So, Destin, I know you've had a vision for how Halo 6 will open.
Okay, so
Oh my.
Locke gets assassinated, and that is the driving force for Team Osiris to join Blue Team. They're the new kids, and Chief takes them under their wing, so to speak.
So now we have a team of like 7 Spartans.
Yep, but we only play as the Blue Team. Osiris is just kind of there, doing whatever.
This is why you're a Destiny.
But I would like to have more Osiris, like for sure. Like that's a really fascinating like squad, basically. And
Dude, yeah, like again, we talk about Buck. Buck is awesome. I'm forgetting the other people's names, but like
what is that?
Laura
female
Bailey.
lead's
Laura Bailey
relationship with her
voices-
father is touched on in there. I found that really interesting.
Vicky was one of them, right? Vale. That's what it's
That's
called.
it.
like how you
called-
said Vicky, like Batman.
Batman's
Vicky Vale.
That's why I got
interest.
Vicky Vale. Yeah, it's Vale, Spartan Vale though, and then I forget the other. I forget their names, but
Tanaka, right?
Tanaka.
Ah,
That's the
yeah.
other one. Yeah, I mean Buck is really the one in my heart there.
There's some cool lore with those other characters.
To be fair,
Could be again.
we
There's a
already
great
knew.
opportunity to do really awesome things with new characters, and like I said, I totally get where fans are at. I'm one of those fans who's like, I am the Chief. I want more Chief, but that doesn't mean I only want Chief.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to do great things with more characters and expand the lore. Look at what Mass Effect did from Mass Effect 1 to 2, right? Mass Effect 2, in many people's hearts, is the best one of the series because those side characters like Thane and stuff
Yeah.
are so awesome, and their stories, while they make a small part of the main mission in Mass Effect 2, like the main sort of story, are like the most interesting parts of that game. And there's an opportunity to do that with Halo 6. But as long as that core story focuses on, you know, the relationship between Master Chief and Cortana now that she's gone rogue, which we all talked about at length. I thought that was a dumb
gonna bring her
decision
back.
story-wise. Just like after how personal Halo 4 was, there, like, you really experience, Chief doesn't change so much as a character, he doesn't have an arc. You experience the gravity of the situation and the personalness, the intimacy of their relationship through Cortana. Like, she's really this mirror for you to experience that story and to identify with the situation. And then she goes totally insane in Halo 5 and wants to wipe out the whole race of people that she swore to protect. The reason she chose Chief was so that she could protect humanity and do her job. And now she's gone crazy. Yeah, I mean, I get it, rampancy, right? But that's not...
I think that there's some inconsistency there, but I also find that arc interesting.
like
Cortana
rampancy
arc?
thing.
Yeah.
So
No,
I really
the
like
whole
it
dealing with
because
her own mortality thing is awesome. Again, it's just an implementation thing. Like how it was done
Sure.
wasn't great.
I like it because from Chief's perspective, he's going to have to come to grips with the fact that Cortana's gone. It's similar to the story tones that the main character's dealing with in a weird correlation, you guys, but follow me. In Firewatch, the man has to deal with the fact that his wife is gone, and he meets new people and interacts with them in the way that he chooses. I think Chief is going to have to come to grips with the fact that the Cortana you knew, she's not there anymore. She died in 4. She's gone.
And she's all he's had for years, if not decades.
I can imagine it being.
Well, I guess not decades because it's what 7 years
been
till
partners
rampancy,
since 1.
but like yes, over the course of I guess
Better
the
part
equivalent
of a
like,
decade.
Yes, thank you.
And I can imagine it being like losing the ability to like have your own voice inside of your head. Like losing Cortana, like especially after having her for that long, would be really hard. But I also don't think that they will actually delve into Chief's emotions regarding that much because that wouldn't be.
They kind of did in 5, though.
I don't think they'll do it.
How it affected him.
more, you know.
I mean,
He's like, no, we have to save Cortana. We have to. And
obviously
he's
cares
almost
about that.
holding on to those strings.
it's in a way.
You got to let him go.
A lot of fans think that he loves her or that she loves him, and I don't know if I'd go that far because he's such a reserved and sort of stoic
it's
character.
a platonic.
Yeah, it's like a. I mean, there are definitely. I would not be able to fight anyone who read that last scene in Halo 4 as anything but love between them. But at the same time, he's so stoic and heroic and like committed to the betterment of humanity and saving all people that it might be something born out of duty and sense of friendship that he has to go after her and save her from what he knows
companionship,
is
I think.
insanity.
Yeah, totally.
Totally, it is.
She's been like his best friend.
But like that's kind of what I wish they delved into is like
Yeah.
Halo 5 doesn't get at the heart of that. It's more like she's insane. She wants to kill everyone. I have to stop her and try and bring her back. And aside from him being like, this is crazy. He doesn't say those words, but he's like, this is
crazy,
You have
man.
to stop this.
I wish you did the
really
VLC.
get into
This
it.
is crazy.
Oh man,
crazy, bro.
I'm really bad. I've said this many times. I'm bad.
it's
going on with Cortana?
Lean on me for impressions. But like if Halo 6 can get at that, then we might have a redeemed Halo Master Chief story. That's what I'm hoping
yeah.
for.
Cortana.
I still
go.
This is crazy, Cortana.
bro, we gotta hit the surf, man. It's like the galaxy there's some fresh Narnar out there. We need to just hit that. It's just now or never.
The Covenant, man.
John 117, what up?
Oh my goodness.
More like John 420, am I right? Okay. I still don't know. Okay, so yeah, we know that they're gonna focus more on Chief in 6. I still don't know how you clean up the narrative mess that is Halo 5 and where
I say it jokingly.
Because
I
where
do
are we
think
at?
they'll kill off Locke.
So
I mean, it's time. If you haven't finished Halo 5, fast forward because it's been a year and a half.
You should. The
yeah, like
campaign.
where we're at right now is Locke has come back with. Master Chief has come back with Locke to Oni to UNSC to like answer for his like actions. Cortana has gone into Rambancy and co-opted the Forerunner
Guardians.
tech. Yeah, the Guardians. So now she might have transcended her own. Yeah.
Yes,
she might have transcended her own sort of. She might have gone past the Rampancy part. Like Rampancy is supposed to, at least in AI, like
They like fixed
eventually
her.
crumble them. Yeah, like it might have. She might have
was rampant
ascended
in
a level.
4,
She's Super
but then
Saiyan now.
died or whatever.
Super Saiyan now?
Yeah.
She's unaffected by the
I-
limitations of the
I said
regular
this.
Saiyan 4.
I said this before. I do think with the ring hinted, another Halo ring hinted at. I think we're gonna get Flood. I think we'll get all.
Oh man,
Because I think it's time for the Flood to come back.
Flood. I don't-
play perspective. I think we'll see Promethean's
what's he
Flood
called?
Covenant,
The Overmind coming back.
Gravemind,
Man.
The Gravemind. There you go. What's the Overmind?
Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors, man.
But anyway,
That's all I see when I see Gravemind.
narratively, I still don't know how they paint themselves out of the corner they've painted themselves into, and
Maybe they kind of just avoid it as much as they can.
Oh, I would hope.
No, I mean,
not.
they-
I feel
they
like you got to
can't-
explain.
so
Yeah.
Thanks, Osiris. Go back to
Having
filing
explain
paperwork.
something that you like agreed was wrong. Like that's got to be.
But that's the lost
Yeah, I
mentality.
guess they have
which
to
is like
fix
if
it.
you don't explain stuff, like it's never going to be good.
They're not afraid to kill
did it
main
in Halo
characters.
2.
They killed them all in Reach. So,
Sergeant Johnson in 3.
well, I'm saying they're not afraid to kill characters. So we could
Reach
see
is
deaths on
kind
Osiris.
of an exception, but I would say they're not afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
And Blue Team.
they backed off of the Reclaimer trilogy and said, "Oh, it's a saga now."
Ooh, you're getting at
So,
something that I think is really interesting.
I don't think that this story, this arc that we're on, is going to go past Halo 6. I think they'll wrap up. They'll just clean this up as best they can in 6, and then I think we're looking at a possible reboot scenario for 7, or maybe like just other stories told in a AAA Halo way, whether it's maybe there is a real squad like blue team
That's-
origin, like go back in time. But I do think this timeline will not go past 6.
That's a really interesting thing. I was about to say, do you think that there's an opportunity for them to kind of go away from this like grand scale epic lore? You got to know all this type of history between all these different warring factions that spans thousands of years, and do something smaller, not necessarily
to.
with
Well, that's why
different
the ring-
characters, but something more stylistically akin to like ODST, where it's like boots on the. I hate saying.
Don't
said
you
boots on
say it. Don't you
hate
say
it.
it.
I'm
It's
sorry,
working. The
but
marketing for
I
Call of
know.
Duty is working.
Eric
said it.
Hirschberg just smiled.
No.
Yes. He's falling into my
He's
trap.
gonna buy
In my
Call of Duty
defense,
WW2.
Boots on the ground is a good description of what ODST is relative to other Halos. So I get it.
What if you
Orbital
call
drop
it
shock.
Men in the City?
Yeah. Man in the City.
Men in the City.
Jazzy soundtrack.
But yeah, I mean the ring hint. Yeah, I think they could bring it a little more centered.
Like, what if-
that's probably where the encounter is
What if
going to
that
take
whole
place?
what if that whole game happens on the ring like the first Halo did?
There'll be stuff in
So-
space. Like you'll get to the ring by like level 3 probably. something
5
like
and
that.
6 were planned as a trilogy originally. So what does that mean for writing when it comes to 6? Like I assume that they have written as 5 is right now. There was a 6 that directly follows 5, and now that's going to change.
There's always rewrites though. You know, like in
I feel
Hollywood,
like
it
it's gotta
happens
be
all the
dramatic,
time.
right?
It's going to have to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because
mean-
in theory, it wouldn't have been entirely Chief, because the quotes we have here makes it sound like, okay, everyone really wants Chief. We're going to put more Chief in it, so they have to adjust the story for that.
You were thinking like 6 might have been way more Locke focused
Yeah.
originally, and
Yeah.
then they just have to scrap all that.
Because remember when
potentially.
5 came out and Locke was the playable character in 80% of the game.
Yeah.
80%
Yeah.
of the missions. We all thought maybe they are moving to
We thought they might kill
off Chief in 6 and just move on. And now clearly if that was the plan, it's no longer the plan anymore.
Maybe they were like, how much do you guys like this new character? No.
Again,
more Chief, please.
Could have been really cool.
But I mean, I would.
If he was more Commander Shepard and less.
Sean, you're a huge film buff. You love movies. You love making them. You love watching them. I'm going to make a movie comparison here.
Yeah.
For me, Halo is getting to the point where it is. Let's see. How do I want to? Maybe I should back up. I'm at the point personally where my favorite superhero movies, because there are so many, are the smaller scale personal ones.
Totally.
Ant-Man. Going back.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't seen Doctor Strange yet, but
it's pretty good.
like Ant-Man and
First Iron Man.
Batman Begins, Dark Knight, early Iron Man, Logan, great example.
Logan's like the last film too, and probably the best Wolverine.
Whereas I went and saw both Avengers movies, and I'll go see Avengers 3 and 4, but those have both been just filler to me. I go into the theater, they go into my eyes, and it's like, oh, that was fun, and then I never think about or want to see those movies again.
Agree.
Whereas the smaller, more personal superhero movies are the ones that stick with me more, like Logan, like Ant-Man.
Even Winter Soldier, I really liked.
Yeah, and I think Halo's reaching that point. You know, Frank's kind of maybe even inadvertently hinting at it with he's saying, oh, Master Chief's become so important to people, and that's true. But I think the Halo series has, if you compare it to the MCU, I know that sounds crazy and dumb, but
for Microsoft, that is what it is.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where every Halo game, the Halo games are Avengers movies, and I think that after 6, whatever 6 ends up being, and I hope it gets back to being a great campaign. I think after 6, I would love to see Halo, the mainline Halo games, or really any Halo games, go back to being the more personal stories, that they can still be AAA blockbuster things. Ant-Man made a ton of money. Logan, huge. Yeah. They can still be AAA, big budget, and highly successful films, but
small scale story.
Yes, that's what I want from Halo.
Not everything has to have 8 people, 8 main characters that all have to be balanced.
I've said it many, many times, and it's my perspective and my opinion only, because I am like you said, I'm a film guy. Like, I put story above everything else in games and in movies. Minus some games that are specifically about gameplay, like there's no
Overwatch,
or like Counter-Strike. There's no story in Counter-Strike. Stop the terrorists, or if you're the terrorist, like destroy.
It's very compelling.
But like it's a gameplay thing, right? But in Halo, like there's this legacy of it being a great story and of it being like this awesome universe and these epic conflicts that are grounded in a sense of personal stakes, right? Like the first Halo game, even the first 2 and 3, the first trilogy, let's call it, is very much a story of humanity is on the brink of destruction. You personally, Master Chief, are the only person who can stop it. Like, that's very personal. The scale is huge, but it's a story about a single person, really, and Cortana and the cast of characters who have to deal with the conflict. If it gets back to that, it can be this big AAA Avengers franchise, but it needs the core emotional core to draw people into that universe to want to stay in there long enough for it to really pay off, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then I guess the final point I would make on Halo is, because a few people were tweeting me about this. I think we might have mentioned it on a recent show, but I can't remember anything before vacation. Flush my brain.
Good.
But I do think we'll get a teaser for 6, a cinematic CG teaser
at E3?
At E3 this year.
Oh man, I
think we'll get some kind of hint at it. This is such a big
the
E3.
Halo 5 one was so good.
Are you talking about the poncho?
Let's not go.
Why does Chief?
Let's not go back to this again.
He's wearing his armor.
But yeah, I do think this is such a big E3 for Microsoft.
Dramatic effect.
You know, the world will be watching for Scorpio, and this is Microsoft's biggest E3 and most important E3 probably ever. I mean, I think that's fair to say that. You know, the Xbox One's been doing great, and people are excited about Scorpio. There's a lot riding on this E3, so I can't see an E3 of this magnitude and importance going by without a major Halo 6 teaser. Yeah.